Could Alex Eala mount a tilt at the US Open title this year?
There is a ticket in New York this week that costs more than it should. It is not a ticket to a final. It is not a ticket to a championship point or a night session under the lights or a match that decides who advances to the second week of a Grand Slam. It is a ticket to an exhibition. No ranking points, no prize money, no trophy. Two players walking onto Arthur Ashe Stadium on a Thursday evening to hit tennis balls at each other for the pleasure of 23,771 strangers. And every one of those seats is gone. Alex Eala is one of the two players on the ticket. She has never won a Grand Slam match on Louis Armstrong Stadium. She has never, in fact, played a competitive point on Louis Armstrong Stadium in her life. And yet, 5 days from now, she will walk out onto Louis Armstrong Stadium in the first round of the United States Open. And by the time she does, the story around her will have already sold out an entirely different building. So, here is the question this video exists to answer. Why is New York already treating Alex Eala like someone she has not officially become yet? Here is why that question matters more than the obvious one. The obvious question is whether she wins her first round match on Louis Armstrong Stadium. And I have to tell you plainly right now that I do not know the answer to that question. As of the recording of this video, that match has not been played. I will not pretend to know how it ends. If you clicked this hoping for a prediction dressed up as insight, this is not that video. But there is a bigger question sitting underneath the match. And the bigger question is already decided because the court assignment exists. The exhibition is sold out. The market has already spoken. And what the market has said about Alex Eala over the last 12 months is a story that is worth 20-some minutes of your afternoon because it explains something about modern tennis that the ranking table does not explain. The rooms Alex Eala walks into have changed. Not because a ranking algorithm demanded it, because the seats did. Stay with me. If you want more of this kind of long-form reframe on the tour, this is Tennis Shockwave News, and the subscribe button is right there. It helps this channel more than you know. Let me set the table quickly because you probably know some of this and I do not want to waste your evening on background you already have. Alex Eala is 21 years old. She was born in the Philippines. As of early August of this year, she is ranked number 20 in the world on the WTA Tour, a career high. And she is the first player from her country ever to sit inside the top 20 of women's tennis. She won her first WTA singles title this summer in Washington at the Mubadala DC Open, a WTA 500 event, which means she beat a genuinely serious field to do it, including Jessica Pegula in the final in 3 sets, 4-6, 6-4, 6-0. That final scoreline collapsing like a stack of chairs. Before that, 12 months ago at the United States Open, she walked onto a stadium in Flushing Meadows and beat Clara Tauson in 3 sets, 6-3, 2-6, 7-6, saving something like 5 match points in a tiebreak that went to 13-11. And that match is the reason a lot of you are watching this video right now. And that stadium, the one from 12 months ago, is where this story actually begins because it was not the stadium you remember it on. Here is the first thing that does not add up. The Tauson upset. The match that put Alex Eala's name into every highlight reel in world tennis last August. The match that Filipino families stayed awake until 3 in the morning to watch. The match that has been described in 100 articles as her arrival on the biggest stage in the sport. That match was played on Grandstand. Not Louis Armstrong, not Arthur Ashe. Grandstand. It is a beautiful court. It seats around 8,000 people. It is not a small room, but it is not the room the memory has installed. Go back and check. The Women's Tennis Association's own scorecard for that match lists Grandstand. The United States Open's own recap article names the Grandstand crowd. So, the biggest moment in Philippine tennis history was played on the 3rd court of the United States Open. And 1 year later, she is scheduled to open the tournament on the 2nd, which means the memory has been quietly upgraded by the audience retroactively in a way that the tournament is now catching up to. Hold that. We come back to it. Here's the second thing that does not add up. There are 19 players ranked above Alex Eala on the WTA Tour right now. 19. Some of them are among the biggest names in the sport. And not one of those 19 has an exhibition match sold out at Arthur Ashe Stadium this week. Not one. The stars of the Open event on the 27th of August, the Thursday of Fan Week, Eala vs Eva Jovic. Close friends off the court, ranked inside the top 20. No stakes, no points, no ladder movement. All 23,771 seats sold. In a market where ticket prices to the United States Open have been reported to be running roughly a fifth higher than the year before, according to Fantracked market data. An exhibition featuring the number 20 player in the world has moved a full night session at the biggest tennis-only stadium on planet Earth. So what is the market seeing that the ranking table is not? Hold that too. Here is the third thing. The Louis Armstrong first-round assignment itself is, on paper, unremarkable. A player projected to be seeded somewhere in the 17 to 20 range at a Grand Slam is a perfectly reasonable candidate for Louis Armstrong Stadium in the first round. It is not extraordinary. It is not a favor. It is not a promotion pulled out of turn. Any competent tournament scheduler looking at Alex Eala's seeding, her recent title, and her draw would arrive at Louis Armstrong through pure arithmetic. And yet, the reaction to the assignment from the Filipino diaspora in New York, from ticket brokers watching the secondary market, from tennis media in the Philippines and outside, it has been treated like a coronation. An ordinary court assignment is being read as an extraordinary event. Why does an ordinary sentence sound like a headline when this particular name is the subject of it? Hold that. And here's a fourth thing, the one that makes the picture strange. She lost her most recent tournament match 2 weeks ago in Cincinnati in the round of 32. She lost to Amanda Anisimova in 3 sets after taking the first. It was not a bad loss. Anisimova is one of the best hard-court players in the world, but it was a loss. And in the 12 days since that loss, ticket demand for her matches at the United States Open did not soften. It hardened, which is a strange thing for a fan base to do. Fan bases usually punish losses, at least at the margins. Not this one. What kind of audience does not flinch when their player loses? Hold that one especially. All 4 of these things are true. All 4 of them are documented. And under the obvious explanation for why Alex Eala is on Louis Armstrong this week, she is ranked 20 in the world, she earned it, end of story, none of these 4 things quite fit. Not because the obvious explanation is wrong, but because it is incomplete. It explains what happened. It does not explain what is happening. So, let me tell you what you have been assuming this whole video. You have been assuming, reasonably, that a court assignment at a Grand Slam is a reflection of a player's ranking. That the tournament looks at the seeding list, matches it to the demand for stadium seats, and places the players on courts accordingly. Ranking in, court out. It is a clean model. It is how most people who watch tennis understand the sport's plumbing. And it is not wrong. It is just not the whole thing. Because the actual reframe, the one that makes the 4 paradoxes stop being paradoxes, is this: the ranking is the excuse. The court is a receipt. Louis Armstrong Stadium was not given to Alex Eala because she is number 20 in the world. Louis Armstrong Stadium was given to Alex Eala because the market said so first, and the ranking just gave the tournament permission to agree. The United States Open is a business, a very good business. It sells the stadiums it can fill. And when a player's name starts moving tickets independently of the match, when an exhibition sells out, when secondary market seats for her session spike, when Filipino fans book flights to New York the way English fans book flights for a World Cup, the tournament reads that data long before it prints the schedule. The court is not a prize. It is a printout. And what is printed on it is a summary of the last 12 months of ticket sales. That is the reframe. That is the spine. And once you see it, the 4 things that did not add up stop being confusions and start being confirmations. Take a breath here for a moment. This is not a story about a player who is overrated. It is not a story about a player who is being handed things she has not earned. She has earned all of it on the court, with a racket, in 3 sets, under stadium lights. What this is a story about the difference between what earns a ranking and what earns a room. Those are 2 different economies, and Alex Eala has crossed from one into the other faster than almost anyone in women's tennis in the last decade. That is the story. Now, let me prove it. Proof number 1 is the simplest. It is a number and a date and a fact you can check yourself. On the 27th of August at 6 o'clock in the evening Eastern Time, Alex Eala will play Eva Jovic in an exhibition match at Arthur Ashe Stadium. Every seat in that stadium, a stadium that holds 23,771 people, more than any other tennis-only venue in the world, has been sold. The match has no ranking points attached to it. It does not appear on either player's official win-loss record. If both of them played their best tennis for 2 full sets and produced the finest match of the year, it would still not move either of their rankings by a single point. The people who bought those tickets know that. They bought the tickets anyway. And what that tells you, cleanly, without any narrative embroidery, is that the demand for Alex Eala on a tennis court is now completely detached from the competitive stakes of the tennis being played. People are not paying to see the match. They are paying to see the player. When 23,000 people spend money on a no-stakes appearance by a number 20 ranked player, the market has stopped pricing the sport and started pricing the person. That is a shift. That is not something the ranking table can register. Proof number 2 is quieter, but it lands harder if you know the industry. Before the United States Open even released its first round schedule, an insider quoted by Tennis 365, one of the more widely read tennis outlets, said openly, and I am paraphrasing carefully here because I want to stay honest to what was reportedly said, that Louis Armstrong could become Alex Eala's home court at this tournament if she got the draw for it. The framing was fascinating. Not she deserves Armstrong because of her ranking. Not she has earned it with her results. But that Armstrong could become her court. Hers, as in claimed. Hers, as in the crowd would make it feel that way. The industry was talking about her stadium fit before the tournament had assigned her a stadium. And this matters because a home court in tennis is not something a tournament creates by decree. A home court is something an audience creates by showing up. When an industry veteran anticipates that a specific stadium will become a specific player's home court before the schedule has even been printed, what that person is actually reporting is not a prediction. It is a market reading. And the market they are reading is the same one that sold out Arthur Ashe on a Thursday in Fan Week. The pattern is not new. What is new is who it is happening to. 12 months ago, Alex Eala played on Grandstand, and Filipino fans filled it. 6 months ago at Indian Wells, at Miami, at Madrid, they filled whatever room she was assigned. And so by the time this United States Open began scheduling, the tournament was not creating demand by putting her on Louis Armstrong. The tournament was acknowledging demand that already existed. Sit with that for a second, because it is the seam that the whole story runs along. There are 2 ways a player ends up on a stadium court at a Grand Slam. First is that the tournament decides she belongs there and puts her there and hopes the fans will follow. The second is that the fans have already decided she belongs there, and the tournament is quietly following them. These look identical from the outside. They are not the same thing. And Alex Eala, this week, is the second one, not the first. Now, here is proof number 3, and this is the one I need you to hold on to. 12 months ago, Alex Eala walked onto Grandstand Court at the United States Open as a wildcard qualifier storyline, ranked in the 70s, playing a top 15 seed, and produced what remains the largest tennis moment in the history of her country. 12 months later, she is walking onto Louis Armstrong Stadium as a top 20 seed, and her exhibition has already sold out the biggest tennis stadium in the world. The court has changed. And here's the thing that most coverage of that court change is going to get wrong. Most coverage is going to tell you that her ranking rose and her court rose with it. That the story is about ranking points and title wins and a WTA 500 trophy in Washington. That is true, but it is not sufficient, because a ranking of number 20 by itself does not put you on Louis Armstrong first round automatically at every Grand Slam. Number 20 is the low end of that court's usual population. There are number 20s who play their opening rounds on court 17 or on Grandstand, and it makes no news at all. The reason Alex Eala is on Louis Armstrong Stadium in the first round of this United States Open is that the tournament looked at the sold-out exhibition, looked at the secondary market data, looked at the Filipino travel volume into New York, and understood that putting her on a smaller court would leave money on the table and fans in the corridor. The court is not a promotion. The court is not a coronation. The court is a receipt. It is the piece of paper the United States Open printed to acknowledge a transaction that had already happened everywhere else. That is what the grandstand to Armstrong walk really is. It is not a step up the ladder. It is a signature at the bottom of a contract the audience wrote 12 months ago and has been signing every week since. Now, let me be honest with you about what this reframe does not do. It does not tell you that Alex Eala is going to win her first-round match on Louis Armstrong Stadium. As I said at the top of this video, that match has not been played. As of the moment I'm recording these words, she could win it in 3 sets and turn the stadium into the loudest room in New York. She could lose it in a routine straight sets defeat to an opponent playing the tennis of their life. I do not know. Nobody watching this knows. And I would be lying to you if I dressed the reframe up as a prediction about how the match ends, because it isn't. The reframe is about what the court means, not about what happens on it. The reframe also does not prove that she is now, in some objective, ranking independent sense, a bigger draw than every player ranked above her. That is not what the sold-out exhibition proves. It proves that in this tournament, in this week, in this city, in this moment, she is moving tickets in a way that a lot of higher-ranked players are not. That is enough for the reframe. It is not enough for a coronation. And I have to name the vulnerability honestly, because the video does not work without it. 2 weeks ago in Cincinnati, she led the first set against Amanda Anisimova and lost the match in 3. That is a loss to a top-tier hardcourt player. And it is not a damning loss, but it is a loss. The layer above her, the players who win Grand Slams, is a layer she has broken through once, in Miami, against Iga Swiatek, in a match everyone in tennis remembers. She has not yet broken through it as a habit. So the story of Alex Eala this United States Open is not the story of a finished player. It is the story of a player whose audience has arrived before her results have fully caught up. Those two things resolve into each other eventually, or they do not. We do not yet know which one this is. But we know one thing, and it is the thing this video is really about. The court she is playing on this week is not the court she played on last time. And that fact, small arithmetic printed on a schedule, is the single clearest signal in professional tennis right now that the audience for Alex Eala has become large enough, loud enough, and loyal enough to be visible from inside the ledger of a Grand Slam. 12 months ago, she was on grandstand, and the tournament had no reason to expect what happened. This week, she is on Louis Armstrong Stadium, and the tournament has every reason. That is the distance she has traveled, not in ranking points. In receipts. She lost in Cincinnati, and the demand did not soften. She has not yet won a match on Louis Armstrong Stadium. And the exhibition in the bigger building next door is already gone. The 19 players above her in the ranking are not selling out Fan Week exhibitions at Arthur Ashe. She is. And when you ask why New York is treating Alex Eala like someone she has not officially become yet, the answer, quietly, undramatically, is that New York gets to decide who someone is, and New York has already decided. The paperwork will catch up, or it will not. Either way, the court is a receipt, and the receipt has her name on it, and it is stamped Louis Armstrong Stadium, first round, this week, in ink. Look at the room she is in now. Look at who else is in it. The player she is playing an exhibition against on Thursday is a top 20 American teenager on her home slam. The stadium is Arthur Ashe. The tournament is the last major of the year. The seat next to yours, if you had one, was already sold months before you thought to look. That is the company she keeps now. That is the room. If the first-round match on Louis Armstrong ends the way her fans want it to, we will talk again in a few days. If it does not, we will talk again anyway, because the ticket demand for her next appearance will not have moved, and the story will just get bigger. Here's what I want to know from you, and I want you to actually think about it before you answer. If she loses on Louis Armstrong on Monday, do you think the demand for her next United States Open drops, or does the story only grow? Tell me why in the comments. I read them. And if this is the kind of long-form reframe you want more of, you're already in the right place. This is Tennis Shockwave News, and the subscribe button is where it has been the whole video. It means more than you know. The court is a receipt. Alex Eala's name is on it. And New York is already sold out on her.